Carlos Smith, the man who allegedly held Romeca Meeks Blackmon in a chokehold while his girlfriend shot her in the face, was taken away in handcuffs during a court hearing this last week. Videos are all over social media showing absolute chaos erupting outside the courtroom between the Meeks family and Carlos. This case just took a wild turn, and you need to hear what went down. Welcome back to the Crime Trail, where we bring you detailed coverage of crime cases as they unfold. If this case shocks you, like it shocks us, please like, subscribe, and share this video so the next person can see it. It keeps this case alive and it keeps the channel going. Let me take you through the court proceedings and the explosive confrontation that ended with Carlos in handcuffs.
Hi, everybody. So come on in. Of course, you know what happened outside of the courthouse. There is a video trending from TT Barfield, who was outside, who captured what unfolded outside of the courthouse. I kind of want to walk you through what I have surmised happened that led up to that point. We did have a producer who was there at the time, a field producer working for Fox 32 that kind of filled me in on everything that unfolded. This is a story that we will be covering on air today as well. So I do have some information based on that. So come on in. So let me first say that I cannot confirm officially what happened outside. All I can tell you is that who allegedly got arrested out of all of this. There's been varying accounts of what happened. Some people say, I don't want to get into the weeds of what we don't know to be concrete, because I think one of the things that I think can be misconstrued in this is, everything we're saying about this case, we have to be responsible. As a journalist, I have to be absolutely responsible about everything that is said about this case, because I do know that it has a lot of heightened emotions. So it's really tough.
Quadajah Johnson, the woman charged with first-degree murder for shooting Romeca in the face during school drop-off, finally had her detention hearing. This was huge because the judge had to decide if she'd stay locked up or walk free on bond. Remember, Johnson already walked free for 91 days, claiming self-defense, while Romeca's family demanded justice. Prosecutors came hard. They laid out exactly what happened on September 8, 2025. Johnson retrieved a firearm, shot Romeca, paused, then shot her again, multiple times, in front of witnesses, in front of Romeca's 6-year-old son. They hammered home that pause between shots. That's their smoking gun. People in genuine fear don't pause to think, they react. Johnson paused, assessed, and kept shooting. That's not self-defense, that's execution. Then prosecutors dropped the bomb. Carlos Smith Sr.'s role. They made it crystal clear that Johnson didn't act alone. Carlos physically restrained Romeca in a chokehold while Johnson went to get the gun. This was coordinated. 2 people working together to attack a defenseless woman, but Johnson's defense team fought back hard. They argued that Johnson genuinely feared for her life that morning. According to her lawyers, there's a history of conflict between Romeca and Carlos that made the situation volatile. They painted a picture of Johnson being caught in the middle of a dangerous domestic dispute, claiming she only acted to protect herself and Carlos from what she perceived as a threat. Then the defense also said Quadajah Johnson is pregnant. Her lawyers pleaded for bond, arguing that a pregnant woman shouldn't be held in jail while awaiting trial. They emphasized that she stayed in Chicago for 91 days, cooperated with investigators, and turned herself in for questioning. They said she's not a flight risk and deserves to fight her case from home, especially given her condition. But prosecutors weren't having it. They countered every argument, pointing out that staying in the area doesn't erase the severity of shooting an unarmed woman in front of children. They argued that Johnson is a danger to the community and that the evidence overwhelmingly contradicts her self-defense claim. The judge's decision? Bond denied. Johnson stays behind bars until trial. No more freedom, no more walking around while Romeca's family grieves. But that's when things went completely off the rails.
Remember last hearing, they had to move it
Right.
to a totally different space because there were so many people, so many supporters of both women. And it happened again. You have a motion. So to my understanding, we had one of our freelancers, or I shouldn't say freelance, one of our producers there who was kind of watching all of this play out. Quadajah's family was released from the courtroom first. They lingered, kind of, stayed around a little bit longer. And then by the time Romeca's family was released, both families collide. They're in the hallways together. We have some of that video which shows an argument of some sort. This side is saying this side is saying that. Both sides are having a war of words. It goes outside of the Layton Criminal Courthouse, and there's two different narratives.
Romeca's family has been going through a lot. For months, they watched Johnson walk free. For months, they watched Carlos, the man who held their daughter down, face zero consequences. No charges, no accountability, nothing. Romeca's mother is raising her grandson, trying to explain to a 7-year-old why mommy isn't coming home. The siblings have been all over social media keeping Romeca's story alive, showing up to every court date, demanding justice. And they keep asking the same question: why hasn't Carlos been charged? In their eyes, he's just as guilty. He restrained Romeca. He made her vulnerable. He held her in place while his girlfriend got a gun and shot her. How is that not a crime? How is he walking around free, posting on social media like nothing happened? The frustration is real. The anger is justified. And when you put that much pain in a courtroom with the person they blame, something's gonna break. And here's what I want to know. Do you think Carlos should face charges for holding Romeca in that chokehold? Is he just as guilty as Quadajah? Why has no charges been filed yet? Drop your thoughts below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps us keep telling these stories to keep these cases alive. Let's continue. Here's where everything exploded. Carlos Smith showed up to Quadajah Johnson's hearing. Why? Nobody knows for sure. Supporting his girlfriend? Subpoenaed as a witness? Either way, his presence set everything off. According to multiple eyewitness accounts and videos circulating on social media, tensions were already sky high when the Meeks family spotted him. And when those two forces collided, chaos erupted. Family members started confronting Carlos right there in the courtroom. And confrontation continued, even when the court dismissed, yelling, demanding answers. You held her while she shot my sister. They weren't holding back anymore. They wanted Carlos to know that they see him, they know what he did, and they're not letting him slide. Then things escalated physically. Different witnesses describe it differently. Some say Carlos responded aggressively, some say family members tried to approach him, others say security had to jump in to separate everyone. But here's what everyone agrees on. It got out of control fast. And Carlos Smith ended up in handcuffs. Court security or police handcuffed Carlos and took him away. Videos on social media show him being escorted out, the Meeks family still shouting absolute chaos in the background. Now, we don't know yet if he was formally arrested for something specific, if it was contempt of court, or if they just removed him to de-escalate the situation. But the fact remains, Carlos Smith walked into that courthouse a free man and left in handcuffs. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Carlos Smith physically held Romeca in a chokehold while his girlfriend went to get a gun. When Johnson came back shooting, Romeca couldn't run, couldn't defend herself, couldn't escape. She was a sitting target because Carlos was restraining her. If that's not being an accomplice to murder, what is? But as of now, Carlos hasn't been charged with anything related to Romeca's death. Legal experts say there could be a few reasons. Maybe prosecutors are using him as a witness against Johnson and offering immunity. Maybe they're still building a case and need more evidence to prove he knew Johnson was going to shoot. Maybe, and this pisses people off the most, there's just not enough resources to go after both of them. But none of that explains why he gets to walk free while the mother of his child is dead. Carlos has even given interviews disputing what witnesses say happened. He claims the situation is being mischaracterized, that he wasn't trying to hurt Romeca, that it went down differently. But when you have multiple witnesses all saying the same thing, Carlos had Romeca in a chokehold when Johnson started shooting, those claims don't hold up. Quadajah Johnson's next court date has been fixed. That's when more information about the trial would surface. Timelines, possible plea deals, and what evidence prosecutors are planning to use. If this goes to trial, it's going to be explosive. Prosecutors will put witnesses on the stand, parents who were dropping kids off that morning, people who saw everything. They'll present forensic evidence about the bullet angles, the distance Johnson was shooting from, whether Romeca posed any threat. And they're going to destroy the self-defense claim. They'll show that Romeca was trying to escape from Carlos's grip when she was shot, that she was unarmed, that Johnson had time to walk away but chose to get a gun instead. Most importantly, they'll center Romeca's 6-year-old son. That little boy watched his mother die. A jury will hear about his trauma and be asked, was this self-defense or murder? We all know the answer. But the real question is Carlos. If he really was taken away in handcuffs, that might signal prosecutors are finally taking his role seriously. Being handcuffed and removed is not a good look for someone claiming innocence. Maybe they're building a case. Maybe his courtroom behavior gave them more ammunition. Or maybe nothing will happen and he'll keep walking free. If that last one happens, the Meeks family has made it clear. They won't stop fighting. They won't be quiet. They'll make sure everyone knows Carlos played a role in Romeca's death. Let's remember what this is really about. Romeca Meeks Blackman, 31 years old, a devoted mother. On the morning she died, she wrote about a fresh start for her son. She was optimistic, hopeful, doing everything right. She was killed because she shared a child with a man who had moved on. That's it. That's the only reason. Quadajah Johnson couldn't handle Carlos having a child with another woman. Carlos couldn't handle co-parenting like an adult. Romeca's son is 7 now, living with his grandmother, processing trauma most adults couldn't handle. He watched his mother die. He heard the shots. He saw her fall. That boy will never celebrate another Mother's Day with Romeca. She'll never see him graduate, get married, have kids. All of that was stolen on a Monday morning during a routine school drop-off. And for what? Because 2 adults couldn't control themselves? Because Johnson chose to get a gun and pull the trigger? Because Carlos chose to restrain Romeca instead of walking away? Romeca deserved better. Her son deserves better. And justice means everyone involved faces consequences. Before we end, I need to hear from you. Do you think Carlos should be charged as an accomplice to murder? Based on him restraining Romeca while Johnson got the gun, is he equally guilty? Was the Meeks family justified in their anger? How would you react seeing your loved one's killer's accomplice walking free? Will Johnson take a plea deal or go to trial? And what do you think the verdict will be? Should Carlos have shown up to that hearing at all? What was he thinking? Drop your answers in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you care about justice for Romeca or cases like this, please like, share, and subscribe to The Crime Trail. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. See you in my next one.